In 2014, a motorcycle taxi driver went missing in Ibadan, Nigeria, leading to an impromptu search by his friends and colleagues. The police were also notified but refused to investigate until a motorcyclist riding along the Lagos-Ibadan expressway claimed to have heard someone crying out for help from the trees in the Soka Forest. Upon entering the forest, the police stumbled upon a horrifying discovery: a seemingly abandoned building filled with decomposed human corpses bound in chains and at various stages of decomposition, including missing limbs and internal organs. Over 20 decomposed human bodies and hundreds of human skulls were found, along with personal belongings of the victims, including driver's licenses and passport photographs. The police also found and rescued around 15 people who were still alive but severely malnourished and kept in captivity. Some of the rescued victims claimed to have been kidnapped, tortured, and held in shackles for months, while a few claimed that their kidnappers were government officials or posing as such. Residents living close to the forest said that they had been informed that the people living in the forest were lunatics receiving treatment from the government. However, rumors of the ritual killings ordered by people in high position to harness supernatural powers spread quickly. In the aftermath of the discovery, crowds of rioters demanded answers from the authorities about the identity of the victims, and some were even convinced that more people were trapped underground. The police were forced to disperse the crowd with tear gas and later made several arrests in connection with the slaughter of Soka Forests, including suspects who were policemen and security guards of the facility. However, no one has been charged with the murders yet. The exact number of people killed is still unknown, but the figure is about 120 people.
After the motorcycle taxi driver went missing in Ibadan, Oyo State in Nigeria, his friends and colleagues began an impromptu search for him. Little did they know that it would lead towards the discovery of something horrendous. The taxi drivers, popularly called as Okada, according to some articles, were actually searching for two of their missing members. The missing drivers were said to have taken 2 passengers around the area, but they never came back. Rescue operations followed after the Okada drivers raised the alarm. Police were notified, but reportedly were uncooperative, refusing to investigate further and saying that the men had just run off. As the disappearances continued in the area, there was still no official response until a motorcyclist riding along the Lagos-Ibadan expressway past an area called the Soka Forest claimed that he heard someone crying out for help from the trees. On the 22nd of March of 2014, police then went investigating around in the forest where they stumbled across a truly horrific sight. The police found a seemingly abandoned building hidden amongst the trees in the middle of the forest. The building was said to have a foul stench. Upon entering the building, the police were met with a horrific sight of decomposed human corpses bound in chains. The building was believed to have been used for human trafficking and ritual sacrifices. As the police continued their investigation, other human remains were found in the surrounding area. Many of them had been butchered upon blood-soaked butcher slabs. Others were even still chained to the slabs. There were also human remains scattered around the forest, outside of the abandoned building. The body parts were stuffed within bushes, in the nooks of trees, or dumped into holes in the ground or caves. The corpses and remains were in various states of decomposition. Many of them were missing their limbs or internal organs, some of them even without heads. In total, over 20 decomposed human bodies and hundreds of human skulls were found in the forest, and there was also a building full of just personal belongings of the victims, including wallets, clothing, jewelry, travel bags, footwear, driver's licenses, passport photographs, and even children's toys. The police also found and rescued about 15 people who were still alive but chained up in captivity. All were severely malnourished, looking like living skeletons, and were surrounded by flies. Some of them were even barely alive. One of the rescued victims is believed to have been bewitched and bound with feathers in a dungeon. When questioned by the police, the rescued victims spoke of having been kidnapped, tortured, kept in shackles, and were apparently just fed palm oil and rice once a week. However, most of the victims could not identify the people who had taken them, but a few claimed that the men who had kidnapped them had been posing as government officials or were government officials. Some of the victims said that they had been held and chained up for months. Residents living close to the forest said that they noticed that some people lived in the forest, but they were informed that the victims were lunatics receiving treatment. A resident who identified himself as Oladimeji said, "We see them bring the victims out, but the guard assured us that they were working for the government to take care of mad people. We did not know they were ritualists. We are shocked to see the corpses after the police busted the place. It was a terrible sight." Chief Iasiaka Bello Olopuyu, a community leader in the area who was not sure of the exact number of the people killed, but to put the figure, it was around 120 people. Most of the bodies that were found could not be identified, and this caused an outrage among the locals who were looking for missing loved ones. Rumors that the ritual killings had been ordered by people in high position in order to harness supernatural powers spread like wildfire. In the days after the discovery, crowds of rioters got angry at the slow response of the authorities. They were seeking answers to the identity of the victims, and some were even convinced that there were more people trapped underground. "We want to rescue our people who were still underground and crying for help, but the police are saying no, and we are angry," one rioter said. Some rioters gathered in the forest with guns, clubs, machetes, bows, and arrows. The police were forced to disperse them with tear gas. Police would later make several arrests in connection with the slaughter of Soka Forest, including some suspects who were policemen and security guards, but no one was ultimately charged with the murders yet. Local media say human body parts were being sold to customers who came to the premises at nighttime. According to BBC, kidnapping victims in Nigeria are sometimes tortured or sacrificed in black magic rituals, and local media have reported the sale of human body parts across the country.
If you want to listen to the full discussion about the Ibadan House of Horrors, please find our podcast YouTube channel, the Wednesday Night Mysteries YouTube channel, or find this podcast on your favorite podcast applications. Thank you for listening.